one thing that we realized was most of the QKDs that are currently being used are, within startups at least, right? We haven't reached the continuous variable level yet, which is still at a research level. So Vaibhav has been reading papers around that, and the team, not just Vaibhav. Vaibhav, Mahima, Archit, and Prashant has been reading papers around continuous variable based QKD. Now that's very interesting because then you can suddenly QKD is nothing but quantum key distribution, right? So the public-private key, which becomes the core of any cryptographic algorithm, how do you distribute that key? That's what QKD is. Now, when you're distributing that, there are discrete ways to do it and continuous variable-based way to do it. What Anandita ma'am and Urvashi ma'am talked about mostly was around the discrete side. So today we are going to be talking about the continuous variable-based QKD protocols. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking. So with that, we'll start with Vaibhav talking about continuous variable-based QKD protocols first.
Okay.
All right, both you, Vaibhav.
Okay, I'll show my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so as Sam was saying, introducing the continuous variable protocols. So last week we talked about what are continuous variable systems. So let me just quickly go through the gist of it. So what are continuous variable systems? So basically, what we talked about was that quantum information can be comes into forms like a discrete and continuous. Discrete is basically what we always read about, which is qubits, using qubits. So in continuous variable systems, we have qubits. So in qubits, as you see, it's like a summation over like 0 and 1. So it's a superposition of 0 and 1. But in Q mode, since it's a continuous function, you find integrals here because of the continuity. So why do we go for continuous variable states is because when we look at the physical implementation of any communication, we are using optical fibers. So even in classical communication, we are using light to transmit information. And when we are going for a quantum information exchange, we would like to use whatever infrastructure is already there. So there is like creating a new infrastructure for a new type of protocols will be like a huge task. So what people are focusing on is like trying to use the current infrastructure. So we anyway end up with using photons, light. So light can also be encoded into modes, like it can be encoded by using qubits, or if we use continuous variable systems, we can use q modes. So what is the difference physically is when you are using qubits, you have to encode single photons. So when you are actually like dealing with single photons, it actually becomes very difficult to detect single photons or generate single photons. So because a photon is really small and it has a very low energy. So what happens is when we use Q modes, so which is like a continuous system, we start dealing with a distribution rather than a single photon. So actually you can use pulses instead of using only a very weak pulses consisting of like a small number of photons, you can actually uh, deal with a distribution of them. So that is physically why we try to use continuous variable systems. Then some types of states we discussed about, like the coherent states, the squeeze states and displaced states, the vacuum state, which is the basic state where there are no photons, then the coherent state. So all these come from, so these are all Gaussian states, like they follow a Gaussian probability distribution. So we also talked about the X and P quadratures, which are basically the momentum and position, like we drew an analogy to like position and momentum operators. So like if you we all know about the uncertainty principle. So if we say that let's say this is position and this is momentum, and for any quantum state, if you want to pinpoint like draw where exact what is the position and momentum, you will always have an uncertainty. So instead of a single point, you will get a circle. So this diameter in x1 is the uncertainty in x1, and this is the uncertainty in x2. So instead of getting an exact point, because of the uncertainty principle, you will always get a circle. So basically, a coherent state is a displaced state. Instead of being on the center, it will be somewhere away. So you have some. So when it is on the center, there is nothing defined. X1 and x2 are not defined because it's almost zero. So when it comes here, you have some definition and some phase related to what x1 and x2 are. So, and we also talked about squeeze state. So I'm talking about this again because this will come into the protocols. The other one was squeeze state, where we what we do is by using some operations, by using some gates, what we can do is we can change the uncertainties in one and increase the uncertainty in the other variable. So uncertainty relation actually is something like this. So it says that the multiplication of these two uncertainties is greater than a certain constant number. So if you reduce the uncertainty in one variable, it will increase because it will increase the uncertainty in another variable because the area of this circle has to be constant. So because of that, when we try to create a squeeze state, what happens is basically the uncertainty in one of the states, one of the position or variables will increase, and the uncertainty in the other will decrease. Another one was number states, which we talked about. So basically, number states basically is like counting the number of photons in the Q mode. So other than that, uh, yeah, so that's basically what we talked about, and then we talked about the homodyne and heterodyne measurements. In homodyne measurements, we try to measure one of the quadratures, that is either the position or the momentum. So you don't measure both, you measure one of them depending upon. So it's you can like we have basis, you can measure a qubit in a plus basis or the 0 1 basis. Similarly, this is like a measurement in the x quadrature or the p quadrature. What heterodyne measurement does is heterodyne measurement you try to measure in both x and p, but due to the uncertainty principle, there is some noise involved. But you can still take a measurement, but it will have some noise. The photon counting measurement is basically counting the number of photons in the Q mode. So let's come to so that was about the introduction. So one more thing, in terms of quantum computers, continuous variable quantum system can actually be sustained in room temperature. So it does not require a cryogenic refrigerator to maintain very low temperatures. So that makes it more practical. So coming to the point of our discussion, like what are continuous variable QKD protocols? So, as we have been talking about what a QKD protocol is, basically, it's like a quantum key distribution. So, in quantum key distribution, what we do is it's our aim is not to do a communication over a quantum channel rather than generating a secret key which only Alice and Bob, the two person who are trying to communicate, can have access to, and no other person can get access to those keys. So this is important eh, because once you have a secret key with in theory, if you have a secret key between Alice and Bob and no one knows about it, they can always do a very secure communication using one time pad. uh, uh, So basically, but the problem there is they always, for every communication, for every encryption, they have to generate a new key, and sharing that key is the key. So that's why QKD protocols come in. So in QKD protocols, basically, we are trying to generate a key between Alice and Bob, which is only accessible to them. So even Alice and Bob don't know what key will be generated. So it's completely random. So even if in theory, if Alice and Bob don't know what key will be generated, it's quite impossible for anyone else to guess what key it is, right? So any QKD protocol, be it be based on discrete or continuous, it will have two steps. First is the quantum communication, and then a classical post processing. So here we can actually, whenever I'm talking about the continuous variable protocols, you can actually draw some analogy to the discrete variable protocols, the BB84. So I will just point out the analogies whenever they come. So during the quantum communication, so this is, I'm just explaining a generic protocol, what happens in a generic QKD protocol. Alice and Bob, in the quantum communication part, Alice and Bob will exchange some quantum states over a communication channel, and which is a quantum channel. And Alice will try to encode Alice will have a random number generator. So she will try to encode some classical random variables into the quantum system and send it to Bob. And Bob will measure the output of what Alice has sent, and using some other random variable and another basis, and then Alice and Bob compare their bases, and they have two sets of correlated uh, sorry yeah, so Alice and Bob then have two sets of correlated data known as the Rockies. So after the quantum communication, a classical post-processing happens, where the two raw keys that they have. So right now they have two keys. Alice has a key and Bob has a key, and they are correlated, but they are not the same. So from those two bit strings, they have to actually come out with a shared key, which can actually be used to encode the secret messages. So in the classical post-processing part, we actually use the two raw keys and map it to a shared secret key. So the classical post-processing happens in several stages. The first stage is the sifting. It's what we call sifting, and where Alice and Bob actually communicate which bases in case of discrete variable systems, and in case of continuous variable system, they communicate which quadratures they use to encode and decode the information, and they discard the data, the part of the strings where the bases or the quadratures don't match. And the next step is called the parameter estimation, uh, where they randomly choose a subset of their data, and they share that in a classical channel, and thus they try to uh, detect the presence of Eve, or how much information Eve could have stolen. Next step is the error correction, where they communicate what kind of errors could have happened, and after eradicating those errors using error correction, their raw keys will be transformed in same string of bits. So they finally have a common same string of bits. So the last step is called privacy amplification. So from this same string of bits, what they will do is they will still go further, and from that set they will take another subset to create a secret key, a smaller key. So thus, if has some knowledge about this string of bits, that will also be reduced to a negligible amount. So this is basically what the classical post-processing part is. So in one-way classical communication, there are two types of communications. One is forward, when Alice sends data to Bob, which is called direct reconciliation. And in this case, Alice data is a reference, and Bob and Eve will try to take the Alice data and try to do measurements and anything to get with the information. In contrast, there's another one-way classical combination which is backward in nature, that is from Bob to Alice, whereas Bob data must be estimated by Alice and Eve. So Bob is sending some information to Alice. So coming to specific protocols, the first protocol is the coherent state protocol, and it involves homodyne detection. So uh, seminal. So one result in QKD using continuous variables is that coherent states are sufficient to distribute secret keys. So also coherent states are much easier to generate in lab than any other Gaussian state, and thus there have been many experiments and demonstrations to show the implementations of how you can use coherent states for QKD. So also the security of the coherent state protocols is based on the fact that the coherent states are non-orthogonal, and thus the no-cloning theorem applies here. And because the states are non-orthogonal, you cannot actually create a copy of these states. So that way it limits how much information Eve can actually access. So what happens in basically in the coherent state protocol is Alice generates two real variables, AQ and AP, and uh, and they try and she what she does is she tries to encode the mean of AQ and AP into a coherent state. Since we are in continuous variable systems, we are talking about Gaussian distribution and states which represent Gaussian distribution. We will the information is basically uh, encoded into the mean and variance of the distribution. So once Alice has Alice has encoded AQ and AP into a coherent state. She sends it to Bob, and then Bob has a random number generator which draws a random bit U dash. So U dash could be 0 or 1. So based on if it's 0, he will measure in the quadrature, and if U is 1, he will measure in the P quadrature. So it's similar to discrete variables where you will either measure Bob measures in the plus basis or the 0 1 basis depending upon his string, random bit string. So Bob uses homodyne detection here because we are using only one of the Q or P quadrature. So Q is basically the position quadrature, and P is the momentum quadrature. So after repeating these steps many times, Alice has a long string of data encoding which encodes the values of AQ and AP, and this data is correlated with Bob's homodyne outcomes P. So Bob's outcomes based on whatever measurements he has done, he will have some string and Alice will have some string, and then they will do the post processing as we discussed in the classical post processing part, and end up with a final string of data which they can use as the secret key. So they will obviously they will have to do the classical communication where Bob shares with Alice which quadratures he used to measure, and Alice and Bob will then discard information regarding where their quadratures don't match. Uh, so this is the coherent state protocol. The next one is the no switching protocol. In this, so as in the previous protocol, Alice generated two real random variables, but in the end, only one is used because when they share during the shifting part, when they share the when Bob shares the information about which quadratures he used, they will discard one of them, right? So only one of the variables which Alice generates gets used in the encoding and decoding part. So in the no switching protocol, what happens is instead of Bob measuring in one of the bases of Q and P, he does a heterodyne measurement instead. And in heterodyne measurement, they actually measure Q and P simultaneously. So there is a noise penalty demanded by the uncertainty principle, but still, in the quantum communication part, Bob uh, has replaced the measurement with a heterodyne detection. So what happens is here, since there is no longer random switching between two bases, the random number generated at Bob's side is no longer needed. So basically this generating, so in this protocol, he was using this random bit U dash generated by a random number generator uh, to figure out which of these quadratures to use. So that step goes away in this no switching protocol because now he's measuring in both. So after repeating these steps, they again end up with two strings of data where Alice has two strings of AQ and AP and Bob has BQ and BP. And in this way, after classical processing, they will again end up with a secret key. But in heterodyne detection, it allows for a simpler setup and producing higher secret key rates. Higher secret key rates, as in the speed of how much basically it's like in less time you can come up with a key. uh, then the next protocol is the squeeze state protocol. So now what Alice here is going to do is instead of encoding her data in the Gaussian distribution of a coherent state, she will do it, she will generate a squeezed vacuum state and displace it by an amount A. So she actually generates a random bit U and a real variable A from the Gaussian distribution. And the A value of A is actually encoded in the displacement of the vacuum state, of the squeeze state. So also she will apply a random phase. So she has two variables, bits of information, U and A. So U, she will encode in the phase u pi by 2, and a she will encode in the displacement of the state. So let me just show it to you once. So yeah, so this is, if you can see, this is a coherent state. So it will have a phase phi and it has a displacement. But we are what we are using is the same, instead of a circle here there's a ellipse here. So it is a squeeze state and has a phase and a displacement with encoded information. So coming back to it, yeah. So since squeeze state, when we use a squeeze state, it will either increase the certainty of the Q quadrature or the P quadrature. So so that way you can actually try to randomize which of so basically this is like encoding in one of the bases, 0, 1, or the plus minus bases. Now now what will happen is, since it's a Gaussian distribution, the variance. So if when she uses u equals to 0 or u equals to 1 in the random bit, the variance will be same for 0 and 1. So thus it prevents E from extracting information on which quadrature was selected by Alice, because the average values will be same for u0 and u1. So in this way, Eve is restricted from getting any information. And once the state has reached Bob, he generates again. He has now, instead of u as Alice did, he will have u dash, and it will tell him in which quadrature he should measure. And then again, like in the previous protocols, Alice and Bob then publicly reveal their strings, and according to they will keep the data which corresponds to the same measured quadrature. So there's another squeeze state protocol uh, where in this one, Bob, instead of using a homodyne measurement, he will use a heterodyne measurement. heterodyne detection. So, but he will still disregard one of the quadrature measurement depending upon Alice's choices. So in this one, what happens is it is like a noisy version of the protocol. And because of this noise, because of the addition of this noise, this protocol has enhanced robustness versus the noise of the channel. So in discrete variable systems, introduction of noise actually causes a lot of problems because you cannot know whether it is from Eve or it is actually through the channel. But in this case, this actually comes out as an advantage because this noise can be modeled and predicted. Uh, Another protocol is basically an entangle-based representation of these Gaussian protocols. So here, um, so basically, all these protocols that we discussed about, they were all we were encoding all the information in Gaussian distribution states like the squeeze states or the coherent states, which are Gaussian. So, and also the measurements also were Gaussian. So we refer to them as fully Gaussian protocols. So in the entanglement, so there's nothing different. There's not much difference in the entanglement based representation. Here, what we will do is instead of the previous prepare and measure protocols, they will have Alice has an EPR state A dash A, so VA dash A. So and she will send so A dash is what Alice will keep to herself. So these are two modes which are entangled, A dash and A. So what Alice will do is she will keep one to herself and send the other one to Bob. And after that, Alice tries to do some operations on her Q mode, and thus the data of her mode gets correlated with the data of Bob's mode because of the entanglement, and rest of the protocol is actually same. So and they will do the measurements and they will share the quadratures, and you can get the key. Uh, so another protocol is the post-selection protocol. So this is basically differs in the classical part. Originally it was believed that the range of continuous variable QKD cannot exceed the 3 dB loss limit. The post-selection protocols basically try to exceed such a limit. So basically, when you try to exceed that limit, it meant that the transmission is less than 50%, which means that Eve is getting more information on Alice data than what Bob is getting. So the quantum communication part of this protocol is equivalent to previous protocols, the coherent state protocols. However, the main difference is the classical post-processing stage. So in the shifting stage, once Bob has revealed his quadratures, uh, Alice and Bob actually measures the absolute values of her quadratures. So by sharing some of these data with each other, like a subset of that, they have some pre-established rules based on which they will discard or keep parts of their data. So the main concept is that based on some pre-established rule, they will be able to discard or keep parts of their data and thus be able to come up with a secret key. So, uh, so one more, basically, again, instead of using a homodyne measurement, they can use a heterodyne measurement, and that becomes a variant of this protocol. Another protocol is the discrete modulation. So here we are not using Gaussian state. Instead, we are using discrete states. So when the research started in this CVQKD protocols, first they tried because discrete modulation, encoding information in discrete states is easier. Initial research was on discrete modulation, but it had some drawbacks, and then it got interest back. Uh, so, uh, uh, so discrete encoding is easier to implement experimentally and it has higher error correction efficiencies, which and also it can be done over longer distances. So that is why it has again got some attention, and there's a lot of research going on in using discrete modulation. So, so in discrete modulation, the state they try to create is something like a e to the power I to pi k by n, and whatever information they want to encode is in k, which encodes a secret key, and Bob uses can submit. Yeah. And Bob tries to use homodynamic heterodyne detection in order to estimate k. So the current drawback of this is basically the security analysis. There is not enough proof that this type of protocols are very secure. So there's some work to be done in the security analysis part of research on this protocol. The last one that I wanted to discuss about is basically the two-way quantum communication. So, so right now, till now, what we were doing was either Alice was sending data to Bob, and Bob was measuring, and they were going to a classical channel. Here, what happens is they do a two-way quantum communication. So Alice sends a state to Bob, and depending upon Bob has two states on and off. So Bob basically can do two configurations on and off. So if it's an off state, he will try to measure it.